Scott Speight, what is your vision currently?
My vision is to reach 1 million people, especially men, to help them become so much more bold in their faith with their families and with their leadership. Because I think leadership is bigger than just in your workplace. It's in your community, it's in your family, it's in everything that you do. And we need people to be more bold today in those 3 areas. And it's not about, putting something out there and having free speech as we're seeing right now going around. It's really about just taking a stand for what you believe and being authentic and having integrity.
Oh, I love it, Scott. We're two mathematicians with chalkboards right now going crazy. We have a saying at First Class Business. We actually have the Leadership Academy of First Class Business. And our saying is leadership is a lifestyle. That is exactly what it's about. Our principles of leadership are love, patience, persistence, consistency, and reliability. And that's what everything that we build goes back to. And it's because of great leaders like yourself. It's because of learning from the United States military and saluting the flag, and growing up in Texas, where I got to learn about those aspects, and Boy Scouts of America and beyond. There's so many factors that help me with my leadership. In terms of leadership then, and in terms of the mastermind, what do you see for yourself in the future for guiding that and the 1 million men that dive into that? Because I have found it's been a hard world to be able to not just stick to those principles, but sometimes those principles lead to others, not wanting to work with you. And that can be somebody as simple as saying, like, I don't like your woo-woo stuff, or, hey, you're too touchy-feely, or you're too commanding. You're trying to domineer and you're narcissistic because you're leading. Like, there's lots of labels that come out these days, and misinterpretations of what leadership is. And of course, there's the Hitler side of leadership, leading with hate and controlling people with manipulation and coercion. So how does a man step in to full integrity and authentically guide others and bless other people's lives when so many people want to tear that down?
Great question. And I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is, when we as men decide to become vulnerable, that's when critical growth takes place. And as you were talking, I was thinking about, when somebody comes at you with those things that they're accusing you of, they're struggling in their own life with some of that very thing. And it's their way of saying, I don't want to deal and I don't want to face my own crap.
Yeah.
And my mastermind is not about dealing, and it's not about counseling. It's about moving forward. It's about men surrounding each other, coming together and saying, hey, I'm struggling in this area. Telling a group of men, these groups are 10 or less, so it's a little bit more intimate. Looking across the room and saying to somebody, I am struggling with porn, or my marriage is on the rocks, or I'm struggling in my work. I'm not a good dad. I've been gone, away from my family. Whatever they're struggling with, coming together and being vulnerable. And I always tell my students, because I train chaplains, men and women, I say, the more vulnerable you are, the more you're going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the bottom line. And I've been reading, not to give a shout out to her, but I've been reading Brene Brown's book, Dare to Lead. And that's exactly what she starts with. I'm getting ready to teach that to a bunch of soldiers in a few months. And that's exactly what she starts out with: vulnerability. That's critical. And I think that's where you start, is looking inward instead of looking out and saying, okay, what do I need? Where do I need to grow?
Absolutely. And now you mentioned on here peak performance, right? Yep. And going forward with that. So I don't mean to lead the witness a little bit, but I see you emulating it. So I will there. You mentioned talking about the problem or the challenges that may exist in life. And I think it's important not to ignore, because life can be overwhelming. On the flip side, though, peak performance typically moves from the survival method into a position of thriving, from survive to thrive. How does that play into the mastermind, and how do you guys balance the art of diving into excellence while also making sure that you make room for those who are struggling at a point where problems kind of all they can see.
So I actually wrote a book several years ago called Living Your Life in Peak Performance. Stop Playing Small. And I kind of related the book to NFL players versus a college high school football player, or an NBA player versus, there's only a select few that reach that level. But in life, we've all got the potential to reach a level that is beyond what we could ever think or imagine. I think we hold ourselves back. And so when I think about peak performance, I think about somebody that says, okay, I am willing to step up and do the things that nobody else is willing to do. And so a lot of times when I teach groups, I talk about the fact that, somebody's inside of a house and they see that, they need to get out, they need to go do something, but they kind of get to the door and they're like, I'm not exactly ready to do this. And so, they hold themselves back. And then they go to they may get enough courage and they try to get to the car, and they say, okay, I can get to the car, but I'm still not ready to go full out. But that individual that is willing to get to the car, get out on the highway, push forward, chase after their dreams, whatever they may be, then I think that they find that they are a lot happier in life. They find their joy, they find their purpose in life. And that kind of goes back to, so many people, what's my purpose in life? Well, what do you love doing? Your purpose doesn't have to be a career or a job. Your purpose could be, as you talked about earlier, being a dad.
Yep.
What do if you focused on being a great dad, are you a peak performing father to your 4 kids?
Yeah.
And I think we can narrow that down to, am I a peak performer in these core areas in my life? Going back to your leadership academy, the 5 pillars, right? Am I a peak performer in all of these areas, or am I just struggling in one bucket? And I think Dan Miller, that wrote, he's passed away now, 48 Days to the Work You Love. He equates that to having, a car and air in all 4 tires.
Mm-hmm.
If one tire is flat, then the car is not going to go very well. And so having that same balance in your life, if there's air in all 5 of those pillars in your life, whatever they may be, they're going to be different for everybody, right? But
absolutely,
if you're focused on making sure that all of those areas that are important to you, your values and your vision are important, you're going to be successful in that area.
I love it, Scott. I'm gonna make a few plugs here, if that's okay with you. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
This is featuring your vision, but man, we got so many things that overlap. That and it's also just such value to the audience that I want to make sure to honor the resources that we have for all of you listening in. So I'm going to show 2 different screens. We've been building these AI widgets, these interactive pages that are just blowing my mind. I cannot believe we built this. I built the first one on accident. We'll talk about that in another show. But Passion Pro here, this is a program I built years ago. And I've been meaning to pull it into more interactive user interface, but this is to help you find what that purpose is in life and live a life of fulfillment. And so you're going to get the links that you can dive into this and figure out what your passions are. This is designed for everybody from career experts to mothers and fathers and teenagers who are looking for, what is it that I want to be remembered for? What is it that I really want to live for? And in addition to that, you mentioned this concept of those tires and wheels. Fletcher Ellingson is one of my personal coaches. He's a phenomenal coach. He's now a co-host of the show, and he's got his life wheel. And so he gave me a piece of paper with these things on it and told me to color it in. And he's like, did you print it out? I said, what does it mean to print? Of course I'm messing a little bit, but we did it virtually and we didn't have this. So wow. I plugged this into ChatGPT and asked it to build something, and it literally built this page. It took me about 4 hours total to build what I would consider a $50,000 system. And just I didn't really prompt it with that much, and it helped me build this whole thing. And the whole point of this wheel up here is, if you can see that, okay, if your self-image is low, then your tire's flat in that area of life. And so you want to start working on that side of your life so that you start creating more balance in what you have. So right along with what you were talking about, Thank you, Scott, for planting the seed on that. My friends, if you guys go to, let us see, is it goglobalmastermind.com? You can find out more about the mastermind that Scott has built out. Of course, you can find his book on Amazon. We just looked at that. And I highly recommend staying close to leaders like Scott. That's what I do. As soon as I come across a leader like Scott, I'm like, okay, how do I make sure I latch onto this guy and make sure that I can pull from his wisdom for the rest of time? And we look forward to seeing you guys all on the next episode of Vision Pros Life. Scott, would you be willing to come back and join us again in the future?
Anytime. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, dude, I love it. Awesome. Well, we'll see you guys in the next episode. By the way, top right corner, if you see up there, it says be our guest. Click on that button, join us, come share your vision. You don't have to have a mastermind established and decades of wisdom based on leadership as a lifestyle. You can come and share whatever vision you have right now. We want to honor that. We want to help you pursue that dream if we're able to, and at least tell the world about it, because you never know. You might help one person, you might help a billion people with what it is that you're up to, but you got to take the shot and get out there and do it. And we'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward. This is going to get more and more fun. We'll have more and more engagement as well. We'll invite people to participate in the show. And thank you for giving us your time and attention. Have an excellent time building out your vision and becoming a vision pro yourself.